What's up, guys? Oh man, it's been interesting couple days, interesting few weeks. Going to be an interesting few more weeks, unfortunately. But I'm not going to get into that tonight. I'm actually really excited for tonight. Um, we have Brian from BC's Balls. Super stoked to talk to him. I believe this is the first YouTube show he's done, so I think this could be a really cool, unique show. So instead of me just babbling on and on, I'm going to hit that button and we're going to get right to it. See you guys in a second. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, doing good, man.
Good. Anyway, we're having a little chat in the chat over here about how I'm feeling right now. I've got a bit of a headache, but man, other than that, I'm doing all right. You doing okay?
Yeah, doing good, man. Just kind of tired. It's been a long week. Launched a new website at work last week, and that never goes without hundreds of problems. And I think I've got my way worked through all those. I spent some days on the phone 10, 12 hours, and then, doing all the stuff with the animals at night. It's been a long couple of weeks.
What's up, babe? Oh, sorry. Can you close the door for me, please? Thank you. Oh. What's the matter?
Do you have an opener for that?
Yeah, some okay. Thanks, baby. Sorry, I was trying to keep the cats out, but it did not. It didn't happen. Get out. Go. Whatever. Just leave her.
Out of my room. We've got two cats. They stay in here.
Oh man, no! This one literally will try to climb me.
Hi and then leave.
Yeah, she will try to climb me. So we have to get her out of here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, babe. I appreciate it. Anyway, this is your first one of these. That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I mean, I did the 15 minutes thing on Chris's. I've kind of, man, for me, it's just time. I mean, I just don't, I had to plan for 2 or 3 days to have these 2 hours open to be able to do this with you. But I mean, I wanted to do yours specifically because, we chat, we know each other, that sort of thing. And, I just feel like I need to branch out and stop being old and
It's kind of funny because for the longest time I didn't think these things were necessary, doing lives and stuff like that. Like I kind of thought they were a little silly, and a good friend of ours, Tom over at Atypical Origins, convinced me to do one on Instagram. And the first one I was like, okay, it's not too bad. But I actually realized it helps with a lot of things. It helps people feel comfortable with you and like confident in your stuff. I'm not too sure why.
Well, I used to do. I when I first kind of started, I don't know, trying to brand myself. I mean, I did several lives from the snake room. My son was the cameraman, and now he's 16, got a car, got a job, got a girlfriend. I mean, and I don't want to just set up the camera and ramble. I want somebody to, go behind me, show some snakes. I mean, that's what I'm going to do on your show. But whenever I do lives on my Facebook page, I just really love that live interaction. I don't think I'll ever be one of the guys that does edited Facebook videos just because I don't have time, man. I don't have the time. I don't have the knowledge. And honestly, I don't see how some of the people do it, man. Like, my man Shane Kelly just moved to town. He's just a few miles away from where I live. And, I don't know when he sleeps, because I've talked to him about his work, about his work schedule. I know how that works. He gets some feeders from me and stuff. He's been over a couple of times, since he's lived here. And, man, it's just there's no hour left in the day right now. When would I edit videos?
Oh yeah, I hear you. A couple other people are saying your mic's actually low. So
okay, I mean, all I can do is like sit closer. I don't know where the I don't know that I have a setting to turn my mic up. Do I have a setting to turn my mic up?
If you go into the settings down below, it might give you that option. But
Trying to see if anybody knows more about phones than I do, and I can turn the volume up. Let me
yeah,
know
he's
how.
on an iPhone, I believe, guys. I'm not too sure. I don't use an iPhone, so um, yeah, doesn't matter. Anyway, guys, while we're figuring this out, if anybody has any questions for Brian, obviously we're going to get into um, our usual questions that we always do, but the fun part of this show is always your guys' questions. So if you have any of those, we'll try to get to as many as we can. So start pumping them out for me. Anyway, try it now.
Can you? Does that sound any better now?
Yeah, you're. I can hear you, but I could hear you before, so I don't know. I'm not too sure how it sounds to everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to talk quiet, so I'll try to speak up so everyone can hear what I'm saying.
Sounds good. So we're gonna jump right in. Question number one: what's your volume look like for 2021?
I'm going to be disappointed with anything less than 40. I think anything over 50 is going to be a bonus. I think the true number is going to end up somewhere between those two. 43, 45 clutches. I've got 22 that I consider done now. Two have already hatched that I'm counting as this year's clutches. I guess technically they were last year pairings that just rolled over into the year, but they hatched in 21. But as far as new clutches go, I've got 3 in the incubator. I've got another 12 that are post ovulation, and then I actually just caught an ovulation during that little break when we set up, and
that's awesome.
made a tag to remind me to put a sticker on there. But I realistically think 40 would be. I'd consider that a good season.
You know what? At the beginning of this year, we were aiming for 40-ish. I think we're going to come in a lot closer to 25, unfortunately, but that's because a lot of the girls I was kind of expecting to get a little bigger by this time of year all decided to go off food together. So it's not a bad thing. I mean, all the clutches we are going to get are still amazing. So I'm going to be very happy with it, but little less volume for me this year, but I mean, I can't complain. It's just going to be a bit easier of a year, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what, we did 21 last year. And, there's with so many first-year girls in the mix, and, I mean, it's kind of always going to be that way, at least for a few more years. It's always hit or miss, whether you're going to, whether they're going to go or not. I've had more reliability from first-year girls the last couple of years than I have the proven girls I have. I mean, it seems like, most, I mean, 2 out of the 3 clutches in the incubator are first-year girls, and I think 10 of the 12 ovulations I've had are first-year girls. Some of those were absorbed last year.
And you move your girls up pretty early, right? Like, you move them up at a pretty small size compared to most people, don't you?
Move them up, meaning
like to like a breeder-sized bin.
Yeah, I generally try to get them out of the 10s, the Freedom Breeder 10s, by, at least 650 grams. I mean, sometimes I move them quicker than that. And then I really like to get them settled into a 70. If I see they're going to be a big girl, and you can tell that pretty early. If I see they're going to be
when they just keep growing long and they're not filling out yet.
Yeah, exactly. I like to get those girls in the 70s at 12, 13, 1,400 grams, and let them grow up in there, get accustomed to that surrounding. And I've got a lot of girls I need to move up, but I didn't want to move them until after they lay. And then they really put on some size in the 40s, and by the time the last rack we bought was ARS, so by the time that got here and I got it put together, I don't want to move a girl with 25, 30 millimeter follicles. It may not hurt, but it's certainly not going to help.
Yeah, that's for sure. You mentioned that you wanted to plug your shirt, and Bridget from Everglades just happened to bring it up, so we might as well go over that right now. Brian said, or Bridget said she's wearing the same shirt as you, so.
My man Chris Eaton, I mean, I started to wear one of my friend's shirts and, kind of plugged them. And, or wear one of my shirts and plug myself, but I'm already here, so why the hell would I wear my shirt? So I couldn't think of a better shirt to wear than this one. I don't know if you can see the whole thing, but it says KFG. I don't cuss a lot in public, but it stands for keep fucking going. It's from the Till Valhalla Project, which, Chris Eaton and Limey, I don't ever know if I'm pronouncing his last name right. Smidger, it might be Smidger.
I have no
But
idea either, so I can't say anything.
but Limey started bringing that to everyone's attention, and I've been friends with JT a long time, and he said something about it too. They there's I don't know how the political climate is in Canada. It's kind of cool talking to someone in a different country, and there you go. But
Somebody asked if I was drinking a weed beer, so I had to show them.
That's awesome, man. Well, if it's I don't know, we're super polarized right now as a country, politically, racially. I mean, everything seems to be going haywire. But the one thing I think across all spectrums that everyone can agree on is the people who've served the country need to be honored. They need to be taken care of after their service is over. There's an average of 22 veteran suicides a day and one active duty suicide a day overall. I mean, that's one of the largest of any subset of society. And I mean, I didn't know that until this came up. And so Valhalla Project makes these shirts. The proceeds of these go to counseling, helping those veterans through those issues that they're going through. Guys that have seen combat. I mean, I never served. I'm going to, but I have the utmost appreciation for those who have, and gave us the right to be able to sit here and be doing this right now. And I think that cuts across all the political spectrums, and it's just one of those things that I hope continues to go viral and brings people together. Because me, man. I mean, I hate most of the Facebook groups. I mean, I'm just being real. I mean, there's so much. So many people like to be, hard on Facebook, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. And I don't know, man. I mean, for an old guy like me, I don't have the patience for that shit. I mean, there's so many ways to do things that work that there is no one right way to do anything. And, the more we're positive and share the ideas and techniques, I mean, I've been doing this since 1989 to some degree. I'm older probably than, I'm old enough to be a lot of these people's father, I'm sure. I've got 2 grandchildren. Now that whole time hasn't been breeding ball pythons. I mean, I was on the wholesale end of things, 89 to 92 in a shop where it was mainly imports. And I mean, if you name it and it's not venomous, we probably had it at one point or the other. And ever since then, I've worked with colubrids, I've bred milks and keens mainly, but it was all super small scale hobby style stuff. But I mean, since I was a kid at my grandparents on the farm, I mean, I was flipping logs and boards. I mean, my grandmother made me turn my pockets inside out before I was allowed to come in the house because she never knew what I was going to found and stuck in my pocket. And, it's just always been a dream of mine to work with snakes. I mean, not just animals. I love all animals, but
since we're talking about it anyway, just change the questions.
So it all started, like I said, with just a love for reptiles and snakes, and that I've kind of narrowed that down over the years to something that I hope to be a sustainable retirement income. We've done pretty well in our first few years, and I think that's going to continue. I mean, you have to have a passion for it because there's way easier ways to make money with this level of investment than what we do.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have a passion for it. And, I had some rough luck last year. We're all going to have rough years. I lost 4 clutches out of 21. And, I mean, that's just like, I mean, went to term, just undeveloped babies. I mean, I wish the eggs would have just molded and went bad, I mean, but going to term and waiting on them to pip and then finding out, you've got 0 out of 10 or 0 out of 12 or, stuff like that, man, that's a punch in the gut when you think about all the late nights and all the hours spent in the rodent room. And, I mean, it's a lot. It's another, it's definitely another full time job.
Yeah, it's really really hard, and like the part that people getting like first getting in really don't understand is like you have some of these animals, some of these girls for like 2, 3, 4 years before they ever go for you, and you know what? After those 4 years of you working hard and doing this and that, like they slug out on you, or they give you a clutch and the clutch goes bad. Like it sucks, man, and it's not the animal's fault. Like,
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
the first year we started putting together a ball python collection, other than just having one or two as pets, was 2016. And the first year I paired an animal was 2018 into the 19 season. We bought. I mean, I tried to do things. I tried to do a lot of research, and I tried to do things what I consider the right way for me, which is to find quality and raise it, get to know its habits, get it used to the environment that it lives in. I'm not going to lie and say I haven't bought a few proven snakes here and there, but it constitutes less than 5% of the collection. There's a couple here and there, but that's about it.
So Sal from House of Guy Pythons has a question, and I'm just going to do a quick plug before we get into the question. Sal and his wife Amy are going to be joining myself and my wife Sierra for our show tomorrow night. Second episode of the Psych Ward. Come join us. Great time. But I think I know what your answer is going to be. What do you think has made the biggest comeback from being a dead end?
Well, I mean, obviously, based on your answer, you think I'm going to say genetic stripe, and I definitely do think in recessives it's underrated and underutilized and undervalued. To be honest, I think that's changing right now with some of the doubles that are coming out. But in reality, that was one of the first recessives that I invested in, other than Clown. I mean, Clown always has my heart, but as far as an incomplete dominant gene. When I first got in the hobby, you could buy, spot nose stuff for, $100, $150, and now look at what some of the spot nose recessive combos are doing. So that one would have to jump out at me as well. Russo, which is almost a forgotten about gene. Once some of these amazing Russo Clown combos start coming out, now Russo has a higher value than it used to. So. For recessive, I'd have to say genetic stripe. And for incomplete dominant, in my opinion, would be Russo and spot nose.
Now, it's funny because as much as I like to give it a hard time, I would agree with you. I think genetic stripe is making a really strong comeback. I think hypo as well is really roaring back. 2-3 years ago, even you could buy a female hatchling hypo for like $100, like a visual recessive animal. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden it's kind of coming back to the forefront because people are making all these really cool combos with it. So
and I mean, one of our coolest clutches so far this year has been a hypo clutch, and I've got a really small hypo group. I mean, I don't have, I've got the male I held back that's a super chocolate GHI vanilla hypo, and then I've got the hypo GHI vanilla that's not a super, that was the sire to that clutch. Those are the only two males I have in hypo. And then I've got 3 hypo GHIs and 2 hypo chocolates. One of them is a holdback from that clutch. I've got a hypo pastel butter, and that's about it. I've got several other snakes carrying hypo as a het, but they were the right combo I was looking for that just so happened to have het hypo that I'll probably never utilize that het,
I mean, I don't have a ton of hypo. I only have a few hypo animals. Obviously, I have that animal that I was talking to you about before I bought it. Not last night, the night before. In case anybody doesn't know, we picked up a pastel hypo G-stripe female at 1,100 grams. It was impossible to pass up. I mean,
Chris Ward bought a G-stripe. That's.
I sure did.
Talking, it's really static at my end. I'm not sure like what's going on with that. If that's me or you, but it's really staticky, and it's.
I think the crackling's actually coming from your phone. This happened to me back when I use my phone every once in a while. what you can try to do, and I mean, I don't want to tell you to do this, but sometimes if you jump out and jump back in, it will actually fix it. So I don't know if you want to try that. It's up to you.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth a shot. How to just close the window and come back in?
Yeah, so if you just leave studio and then just grab that invite again that I sent you, it'll pop you right back in. B&H Reptiles. He was not using a mic. That's actually just a small issue with StreamYard. Sometimes that happens when you're using an iPhone. It happened to me on my first live with the Scales family. And I had no idea what the heck it was. So let's see if that worked. I'm hoping it did.
Yeah, I hate to do that. It was getting to the point I couldn't understand what you were saying.
I think the crackling is still there.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have a pair of like headphones, like even the ones that came with your iPhone?
Yeah, I can run grab some. Let's check.
Just because I know for a fact that gets rid of it.
Okay, yeah.
I know it's not ideal, but
yeah, give me just a second. Let me run grab.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thank you. We appreciate it. I'll pop him back on as soon as he's here. I can see his little screen there, guys. Anyway, let's get some more questions going. Those were a couple really good ones to get it started. I see Kim has one there. Thought you didn't like G-Stripe. I don't like G-Stripe. I still don't like G-Stripe. Oh, there he is.
Let's see if this works.
Oh, man, I think that's going to be way more clear.
I don't give a shit what it looks like.
Oh, man, that sounds so much clearer.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can hear you a lot better now, so.
Well, this is sick. Perfect. Okay.
Awesome.
I'm just gonna address this really quick. I still don't like G-Stripe. I got the animal. I was talking to Brian about it. It was such a good deal. It would have been stupid for me to pass the animal up.
If he didn't buy it, I was going to send him the money and pay him $100 finder fee. You know, yeah.
But we have so many cool males here. You know, I figured for a double visual female, we could find something for and worst case scenario, I can send her off to Billy's because he has a lot of cool G-Stripe stuff, and I could do a breeder loan with her. But it was very, very hard to pass up. Where was that question? Oh, from Miss Kim. I know you're familiar with her. What is your favorite holdback from the season so far?
Well, this season would definitely be the Hypo Super Chocolate GHI Vanilla, but I have to disclose I'm not sure he's going to thrive. And that sucks, because that was my target animal for that clutch. And I actually had an opportunity to buy one. There's only been a few of those made. And I had an opportunity to buy one for a really good deal. And I actually turned a friend onto it because I was like, I got 7 eggs with 25% odds. Let's just, I think I'll hit one. And of course, the first one out of the egg. And, I've assisted now 5 times and he doesn't seem to be digesting. I mean, I may look in there later and I'm probably just being paranoid too, but at the same time, I've seen enough babies now to know that in the environment I keep them in, they have, I've never had one do this. I mean, I've assisted 2 snakes out of more than, I'm probably approaching 250, I guess now. I've had to assist 2, and I've only had to assist those 2 once each, So it was like, to have to assist and still have him. I mean, when we get done, he's going to spend the night with a fuzzy again to see if he'll take it tonight. And if not, I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna assist forever. I believe at some point, there's just something there that's wrong, and especially if he can't digest, But my favorite holdback overall is probably that's a hard one, but it's probably one of the Super Orange Dream Vanilla Yellow Bellies I hit last year that were pied and het pied. They were sisters, and visually, I like the het pied version better, but power-wise, obviously the pied is the one that has all the bells and whistles.
The same thing just happened to me with my pied clutch, man. I love that we hatched the pied and it looks amazing, but the one het pied that we hatched, it's one of the nicest banana combos I've ever seen anywhere. It blew me away, to the point where my wife claimed it and said that we're not selling it, and she's never done that with a snake before. So
Yeah,
Yeah, I get it, man.
after 20 years of marriage, I finally got my wife to where she'll help me like give medicine if I need to, or something like that. But yeah, she's not about it, man. I'm a one man show. My daughter helps some. She has probably more interest than anyone in the family in it, and she's not scared to just reach in and grab a mean ass snake, and if it tags her, it tags her. She's she's pretty awesome, but she's also a full time student and works, and a single mom, and she has a lot going on as well. So, and then my son's got the case of the fumes, perfume and gas fumes. So he's constantly gone, and so it's just it's just kind of me. But yeah, that's definitely one.
That's awesome, man. Storm Exotics, my buddy Malcolm. He wants to know what your favorite G-stripe combo is that you've produced.
Probably the Butter Ivory G Stripe. She's got kind of a special place in my heart. I've hatched quite a few nice ones, but that one, kind of a funny story. I hatched this was all in the last clutch last year. I paired this was in 19. So in November of 2018, I paired this pastel butter yellow belly G stripe girl with a pastel yellow belly G stripe. It was going to be my first season. I wanted to make a little, kind of simpler stuff. I didn't want to, I didn't want to deal with losing, clutches and stuff like that. And ironically, I mean, I paired 14 snakes. I got 12 clutches. I got 108 eggs, average 9 eggs per clutch. 10 of the 12 girls were first timers and had 100% hatch rate. So that kind of set a precedent that, it's hard to match. And that's why last year hurt so bad losing that many. But, I hit a super pastel butter yellow belly G stripe, a butter yellow belly G stripe, and then the butter ivory G stripe, which I'm taking that straight into the Desert Ghost project with a pastel spot nose Desert Ghost het genetic stripe. He'll be the one that'll see all three of those girls. So. And then I'll still do some stuff. I've got one that's getting ready to ovulate that's going to be pretty cool. It's a leopard. I think this one will produce my favorite G-stripe. It just hasn't yet. And it's a leopard ivory G-stripe to a super cinnamon G-stripe.
Leopard ivory G-stripe. I bet that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of white now, washed out as it got older, and everything. But it's literally the whitest white I've ever seen on a snake. I mean, it's not that flat white. It's like he was painted with gloss paint. I mean, it's a really cool looking snake.
That's freaking awesome, man. We were missing a couple questions here. Where did it go? What triple recessive do you plan on working towards if you haven't produced one yet? I don't think many people have produced triple recessives there, Sal.
I haven't produced a double recessive yet. I mean,
neither have I.
I've got I was talking to Chris about this the other day. I'm not sure where to take my dreamsicle project. I've got a male and 2 females, and they're all 3 pretty well ready to breed. And when I start looking at the Desert Ghost Pie, Desert Ghost Clown, and Desert Ghost G-stripe projects I've got, and the holdbacks those are going to generate, I'm just not sure how creative I'm going to get. I mean, I just had a super pastel inchy yellow belly het pied that was paired to Dreamsicle ovulate. She's in prelay shed right now. Should prelay shed, I would guess tonight. I hope tonight, because I'm leaving town for a week on in June, and I don't want her laying during that period. I'd rather have a clutch hatch when I'm out of town than have a clutch lay when I'm out of town. But
That's fair. That's fair.
But then, I really don't know where. I mean, I don't really see a triple recessive in the near future, because I'm, if I did, based on what I have, it would have to be a hypo Desert Ghost pied or a hypo Desert Ghost Clown. But I'm not a big fan of hypo and Desert Ghost. I think it takes away more than it adds.
It definitely takes away some of the appeal of the Desert Ghost.
Well, I like the crispness of the black and Desert Ghost, and it takes that away. To me, the things that are good is the same reason I don't work with Xanthic. I mean, the things that I love about ball pythons, it's a gene that it takes it away. So, I don't know. I guess if I ever did try a triple, it probably would involve lavender, pied, and clown. That would, a grail pied would be pretty
Oh, the
badass.
Holy Grail. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty cool. The first Holy Grail I ever saw, the one that Justin made, it didn't like jump out at me as amazing. But then not long after that, I saw a pastel version, and I don't know what it is, but for some reason that just kicked that entire combo up to like 3 levels. It was nuts.
Yeah,
So
I've never been scared of pastel in my lavender combos, and I don't really get the hate for pastel. I get the hate for shitty pastel, but I don't get the hate for pastel overall as a gene. I mean, I hatched in that same clutch last year. I hatched a Russo spot nose clown, and I hatched a pastel Russo spot nose clown. And the Russo spot nose clown in American dollars is $4,000, $4,500 snake roughly.
mhm.
And
Oh,
I'm going off there. I
there we go.
posted the pastel Russo spot nose clown at 3,500 because I knew it was a male, and I knew pastel was going to hurt the value. And it was a cool snake, and I ended up, that snake was listed for 6 months, and I dropped it as low as I felt comfortable dropping it to not affect the market on that combo. And then I ended up actually trading that snake to Alyssa Leonard with Full Throttle Reptiles, had wanted that snake for a long time. She lives just a short ways away. And I was like, you know what? Just, let's trade for that Fire Yellow Belly G-Nex pod female you have, and you come get the Pastel Russo Spot Nose Clown male. I think she probably came out a little better on that deal, but, at the same time, I've got the one without Pastel. He's locking with females, let's roll.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, I'm not afraid of pastel in most things. I'm not the biggest fan of it in clown, only because
I lost audio altogether there.
you can't hear. Unplug your headphones.
Say something now.
Can you hear me?
I still can't hear you, dude. That's crazy.
Oh my goodness. I assume it's because somebody tried to call him or something.
I don't know what is going on.
One sec. How about now? No?
Hello.
I can hear you.
Me? Like nod if you can hear me. Okay. So
Mhm.
like I can hear nothing. And I didn't touch my phone, so it shouldn't be that.
Oh, this is
Jesus, let's try this again.
well, it is what it is. We never claim to be perfect. I love DG. The fact that just the crisp blacks, they're insane. DG is one of my favorite genes. This year we're actually accidentally kind of doing DG Hypopide project. We're putting the DG Leo DG Hep Hide to a Spide Head Hypo, so everything will come out 50%. Not doing it for the head hypo, but it'll be there. However, we do have a bunch of double het clown pied 50% head hypo females growing up, and that will be an avenue we will be chasing. Because I think the combo hypo clown pieds will just be insane. So there he is. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, man. Sorry about all this.
Did somebody call you?
No, I don't. I don't think so.
Weird. Yeah, so I don't know why, but with iPhone, sometimes if people calls you, it just cuts your audio off. It's weird.
I don't have an iPhone 3. I mean, I've got one of the newer ones. I guess I need to switch to Android, right? Everybody's been on my ass to do that.
Oh, I fucking love iPhones, man. Okay, question from Dylan McNeil. What's the biggest mistake? What's your biggest mistake in the hobby, and what did you learn from it? Ooh.
Oh man, God, I've made so many. I mean, I haven't made any mistakes that have been like costly or lost an animal or anything like that. But I honestly think probably not taking the time to learn the complexes before I started putting my initial collection together probably was the biggest mistake. I learned it cost you a lot of money. I ended up, of the snakes I bred in 2019, exactly zero males bred in 2020 that bred in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that, I was concentrating on buying these, elaborate females. And, I ended up with simple males. And then I started not having good options for my simple females. And, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have some cluster clutches when I put this male to this female,
Mm-hmm.
with some of this 4 and 5 gene bongo crazy stuff I've got. But all in all, I think, invest in the money in the male is something that goes against conventional wisdom when you're, talking about breeding. I mean, everybody talks so much about females.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm pretty good friends with Bob Vu as well. And he made a post that was just awesome on Facebook. I had dominoes on it, and it was like, I see so many people that, hatch that target male, and, 3 days later, the sire to that clutch is listed on Morph Market. I want a male to breed an entire year before I'm even going to think about letting go of that backup. So I think not keeping enough males is a mistake a lot of people make. Not that I didn't make that mistake. I had enough males. I just didn't have the right males from 19 going into 2020, and it may have contributed to some of my problems because I had a lot of young males breeding.
And you know what? It's really funny because it's not talked about enough. You're right. Everybody says, "Oh, focus on females, don't buy males. Focus on females," but it's really tough because you load yourself up with females, and then all of a sudden, like especially when you first get in, if you listen to that advice and you get a bunch of like stacked females, but they're kind of all over the place, it's really hard to pick up one or two really fucking expensive, nice males at that point because you've fucking blown all your money elsewhere.
Well,
Um,
yeah, and not only that, I mean, nobody that first starts, I don't say nobody, but I mean, if you're looking at making, high end investment level stuff, when people start in the hobby, they're not out there looking for an orange dream yellow belly female. You know what I mean? Because there's males that you can put with that'll make an incredible killer combo.
mhm.
But you can't put in, an inchy to an orange. I mean, yeah, you can make cool snakes, but at the same time, you're making the same thing everybody else is making.
Mhm.
And also, just kind of to touch on Dylan's question too, I think I probably in the very beginning spent more time thinking I had to work on projects that other people were working on to make it. And going into last year, I did some pairings that a lot of people advised me not to make that turned out just fucking unreal. You know what I mean? And, I kind of learned to go with my intuition because, at the end of the day, you've got to like what you see. When you've worked all day and you're in your room and you're cleaning, and you just realize that eighth snake in a row took a giant shit in the corner of the tub, and you're scraping and cleaning and scrubbing and washing and everything else. You got to like what you see when you open that tub. That's what it really boils down to. I consider myself a business. One of my big pet peeves is, well, it's not a business for me, it's a hobby, but they've got 200 snakes and an entire rodent facility, plus they work a full-time job. It's not about the money. Bullshit. It's about the money at least a little bit. I mean, if you've got that many animals and you're doing it that way, that is a big pet peeve of mine. The people that say, well, it's not about the money. It's not about the money for everyone. And it can't be all about the money because there's shitloads way easier ways to spend, upwards of $250,000,
With a lot less upkeep.
yeah, exactly. I could have spent what I spent in ball pythons, 6 weeks ago in Dogecoin and be set for life. I mean, and I'm not into the crypto thing. I personally think it's going to crash and burn, and a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money. But I'm no financial expert, so don't take that as advice. That's just me sharing one of my bullshit opinions.
Alrighty, let's jump into another one of our questions. Bro, you've touched on kind of like how you came to love animals and all that kind of stuff. But when did you actually get into the hobby? And that doesn't just mean breeding ball pythons. You said you did other stuff before. So like,
Probably. If do you consider keeping being in the hobby or breeding?
yeah, I would. If you have
Not
more than one animal as a pet, I would say you're in the hobby.
1986.
Jesus, nice.
Is when, that's when in 1986 I had a ball python and I had a few snakes that I may or may not have caught in the wild and kept that I wasn't supposed to. I was 16. I didn't know any better at that point in time.
Statute of limitations
Yeah.
is long past. You can
Oh
say
yeah, but when I was, I would say seriously as a keeper. I mean, when I had, over a dozen different species, was probably 89, 90. I've had berms, retics. I was really into the big snakes at first. Then I kind of got into hots a little bit. I was never permitted, licensed. I did it as safely as I could, but I thought I knew more than I did because I was young and dumb, like a lot of people, do. And, I had a couple of near misses there and decided, hey, this is not the smart thing to do. And then from there, it's just, I don't think at any point since 1989 have I not owned multiple reptiles, even during the college years. I had, terrariums with house snakes and, different, I had a snow corn, I had a reverse okatee, albino tangerine Honduran milk. I had a big iguana that ran around my condo in college and, would freak people out at parties because he'd lay on the curtain rod up above, and people would sit down on the couch. They wouldn't even see him. And he would literally like spring from that curtain rod and stick a landing on the arm of the couch. And, man, I tell you, I've almost had to clean that couch a few times because people didn't know he was there. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's there. And he was as big of an iguana as I've seen. He was just a green iguana. Nothing, no special morph or anything like that. But he had to weigh 20 pounds. He was really, really big.
That's funny.
And, and then he just all of a sudden got uber aggressive. And I ended up donating him to one of the, local places that have animals on display. Not really a zoo, just more of a nature park.
That's fair. Okay, so you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but for anybody that doesn't know you, why don't you tell everybody the different projects that you're working on, or anything you want to share that you're working on?
Okay, well, I don't keep secrets, so I think I've sent you my pairing list for this year. We were just chatting the other night. One of my most anticipated things to work with this year is Nanny Clown. I've got one of the few breeding Nanny Clown males in the U.S. right now, I think, as far as I know anyway. A lot of people do keep secrets, but I believe Joe Kenny and I are the only two that have one. And, I'm having kind of shit luck with that group. But, my Mojave Clown seems to be, in the incomplete dominant form with Nanny Mojave is probably the premier, combo because, or Nanny Butter, anything Bell Complex and Nanny or Black Pastel, really 8-Ball Complex too. But they, I've got shots this year at Nanny Mojave Clown, Black Pastel Nanny Mojave Clown, Nanny Black Pastel Clown. Then I just had Nanny Special ovulate. I don't know, she's right here. I can't remember, maybe a week ago or so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Paired to Nanny Clowns, so I could have some Super Nanny Special Het Clowns. And Nanny is one of those genes that in of itself, even the super form, and even in the visual clown is not all that, doesn't have the wow factor of like a Wookiee clown or something like that. But when you start layering genes in, if you've seen some of the stuff Kenny Aponte's done, who I believe is in the Dominican Republic, I'm not sure, I probably got that wrong, but he's an island somewhere. And he's got some really, really nice stuff. And he hatched a Nanny Black Pastel Clown last year, and it's one of the nicest ones I've seen. One of my longer term projects that I'm making some more building blocks for is Super Orange Dream, Super Vanilla Pied. I really think that's going to be just killer. This year too. A lot of, I don't know. I really like the Spot Nose Clown stuff. And I'm not a real fancy guy. You know what I mean? I don't have, everybody, I think about, people like Justin and stuff like that who've got racks full of G-stripe clown pieds and, stuff like I don't have that,
Mm-hmm.
so, I'm just hoping to make some really, really cool clown combos to hold back a few more visuals. Hoping to make some G-stripe het Desert Ghost. I've got my Desert Ghost male going to 8 females, 4 of which are done and ovulated. The other 4 are still going. I've got a clutch of, this may be my most anticipated clutch of the year. It's hard to say because I don't know which other ones are going to be done yet or not. But as far as clutches I know are coming, Pastel Yellow Belly Desert Ghost to Pastel Leopard Phantom Clown. I've got 8 eggs in the incubator right now from that one. And he's also seeing Leopard Fire Spider Clown. Inchy Vanilla Pod is getting ready to ovulate with Pastel Yellow Belly Desert Ghost. And then he's seeing Nanny Mojave, Orange Dream Fire Calico. Both of those are progressing along nicely. Super Pastel Vanilla, she dropped 4 slugs, but 3 good ones. They're the next to hatch. They're due to hatch this month on the 28th. But I've only got 3 eggs, but could be something cool in there. Usually small clutches, I hit better odds than I do on big clutches.
I'm hoping I get your luck, man, because my next clutch is 3 eggs too.
But it's I'm mainly Blackhead Lavender. I've got one that could do Leopard Lesser Lavender this year. I'm trying to think. I've got Hypo Super GHI chocolates because it'll be kind of cool. It'll be kind of cool to see if the Hypo Super Chocolate GHI and the Hypo Super GHI chocolate look any different, because I'm not sure they will. But
I don't know, man. Super GHI never disappoints me. So
yeah, well, I've got 2 shots at that, and they're both over 20. So hopefully, hopefully they both go. Neither one ate today, which, a lot of people will be like, oh, no, my snake didn't eat. I'm like, yes, my snake didn't eat today. She's probably, because they were over 20 about, I think I scanned 2 weeks ago, and they had both jumped 8 to 9 millimeters over 4 weeks. So, and they tend to accelerate there toward the end.
My general rule is don't want it if they don't eat over here. Great news if they don't eat over here.
Exactly. I don't know, other than my little guy, I mean, I don't have much problem out of the small ones, Now, one thing that I do that's a little bit off the norm, is I do feed primarily ASFs to my breeders. I've found ASFs are not only easier to produce, they have a higher growth rate in the snakes. I've done side-by-side studies and comparisons that are non-scientific, not a big enough sample size to be statistically relevant in the scientific world. But it was enough to convince me that, that's a better diet. And I'm also convinced that the getting stuck is a complete and total just made up thing. I mean, just think about it. Think about it logically. When does someone who doesn't normally feed ASFs feed a snake an ASF? When it's off food. Mm-hmm. It's that they don't just decide one day, hey, I'm going to feed my snakes ASFs. Generally they do it because it's off food. And then if it eats and it won't eat a rat, it wasn't eating a rat before it ate the ASF, so that doesn't mean it's hooked. That means you got your snake to eat. Mm-hmm. And I have, out of the room, I've got a total of 131 snakes right now. Out of the room, I've got 6 females that will eat rats and won't touch. Well, they'll touch an ASF, they'll wrap it, they'll kill it, and then they leave it land, and then they'll eat a rat with it laying in their tub. And then I've got 2 snakes that will take ASF only. So all the rest of them, I could feed ASFs 16, 18 weeks in a row, have a run of rats, come out of the rat room and be low on ASFs, come back in here, and every one of them will take a rat too. It's, I have not experienced that.
You know what? It's funny that you bring up the ASF versus rat thing, because I'm actually seeing it more and more.
There's more and more people be honest. I think that's what you're saying.
Well, you know what that stems from, though? I don't think it's necessarily honesty. I think it's just less people being afraid to feed ASFs to begin with, because I remember back in the day, even the thought of feeding ASFs was like, no, you don't do that. People don't buy snakes that eat ASFs. Like, you don't do it. So I think now that more people are just starting to realize that, it's not a problem if this animal eats an African soft fur versus a conventional Norwegian rat. Like, I think we're just seeing more people have more experiences with them, so we can actually have the conversation. I personally don't feed only ASFs. They cost way too much up here, and I don't have the room to breed them myself yet. I tried for a little colony here where I do the snakes, and what a fucking nightmare. So when I get some more room, I'll probably have a few colonies going. But
well, and you can produce roughly 5 times the amount in the same space.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of it. But the downside is you have to have 5 times the grow out space because they do grow slower, but they never outgrow the size to feed a ball python. So I don't have to, with breeding rats, it was like, okay, they go from weans to smalls to mediums to too big.
Yep.
So I'm constantly either culling and freezing, which I do not like to feed frozen thawed. It dry, I do pre-kill a lot. I mean, I don't feed exclusively live. I've got several that do eat only live, but the for the most part, I pre-kill as I feed. And then just offer off tongs. At this level of numbers, I can manage to do that. I don't have anything against live feeding. I just figure why not mitigate that risk if they'll take if they're going to come out mouth open, it's too easy to cervically dislocate a feeder, and then drop it in and have them take it. But yeah, I mean, I'm weaning out of 24 colonies. I'm probably weaning an average of 350 ASFs a week.
Oh my God!
When the when all of them are going. Now, I just reset half of them, and then once those 12 are going, I'll reset the other half because it's looking like my season is going to be, I hate using the word season too because I get clutches every month of the year. May and October historically have been the biggest months, the last 2 years in a row. But, I like to reset those colonies and get them going. But my for sale snakes, I still do feed those rats. I mean, I've got 15 rat colonies going, and I start putting rat pups and fuzzies in the freezer every week because I only need a few adult rats a week, so I pretty much only let each colony wean 3 or 4 at a time, and the rest of them, I think I've got 600 and something fuzzies and 200 and something pups in the freezer.
Wow.
Hopefully the stuff I'm selling is not around by the time it needs a pup, but I don't maintenance feed, and when it's time for a pup, I'm going to give them a pup and let them grow. And
I don't understand the maintenance feeding crap, man. I don't get it.
I don't either. I understand the theory behind it, and I don't think it's as bad as some people might think it is. But I also think it's worse than some people think it is. I've bought 8-month-old snakes that were 250 grams that within 6 months of feeding normally were the same size as a comparable snake their age that I hatched. So there is some truth behind the fact, but I also believe the feeding habits established in the first year of life is going to dictate the rest of that snake's life. And if you're feeding a 6-month-old snake a small pup every other week, just to keep it alive, then I think you need to reevaluate where you are as far as capacity and your ability to give the best care. I'd love to have 500 snakes. I just can't take care of that many. So
I think we all would.
Well, I've set my limit at 136. I can, with my schedule, I do have the COVID had a one effect. I did get sent to work from home, and it worked so well that it became permanent. So, I do all the digital advertising and digital marketing and e-commerce for an automotive group. And I do that from home, and so I'm kind of tied to the house 6 days a week. That's why one of the reasons I don't travel more, go to more shows, and at least network. I'm not big on vending shows, but I've done a couple, just here and there with friends. I've been to one with Alyssa last week, just on the Sunday part of it. But I've only got one snake available. How could I? I carried a bunch of Reptichip because I am a Reptichip distributor as well, and the rest of my Easy Hatch trays that I have here, I took those and ended up selling all those and about 40 blocks of chip and one of the 2 animals I took. So,
Do you actually like the Easy Hatch trays? I know this is probably a weird question because.
Well,
you kind of feel.
I have to say yes, but the thing about it is, okay, so in 2019, I incubated directly on Hatchright. Press and seal on until day 55, pulled it off on day 55, had 100% hatch rate.
Mm-hmm.
Then I tried to perfect on 100%, I tried to improve on 100% hatch rate. And last year I put them on Easy Hatch trays, put them in a new, bigger incubator, and ended up having some rough luck. Now I can't directly attribute with any evidence, that the trays or the incubator or the fact that I did something different with the press and seal or what I can't directly attribute it because none of it really makes sense. I mean, to have 17 out of 21 clutches hatch perfectly and then have 4 be total losses, that's just that very well could just be the way nature works. But I went back to the way I had 100% hatch rate, and I don't break apart the eggs, I don't separate them, I pick them up the way she laid them, candle them, make sure they got veins, put them in the box, wrap them, wait till day 55, pull the wrap off, wait on pips. That's pretty,
fair.
That's pretty much the way I'm going to do it.
And you know what? Once you find a way that works, I find that trying to switch it up or trying to change things, even if you think you've covered every basis that you have, there's always something that you don't think of.
Yeah.
I've always done it the same way. It's the complete opposite way that Billy does it. People, because I work for Billy, people assume that we do everything the exact same. Definitely not. I think vermiculite is garbage. I hate it. I will never buy it. Also, it's just messy and ugh. So I do sponges, and it's worked for me forever.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is you could use wet paper towels. I mean, it really doesn't matter. It's like if the eggs don't get wet, they stay somewhere between 86 and 90 degrees, and you have 90-degree plus humidity. It doesn't matter where that humidity comes from. Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing that I love about the Hatch-Rite for me is just the ease of it. I mean, I literally I buy a 20-pound bag. I put enough scoops to do 2 boxes in each big gallon Ziploc bag. Put it back in the big bag, seal it up, put it in the top of my closet, and when a clutch lays, I grab a Ziploc bag, pour half of it in, shake it around, put the eggs on it, and press and seal it, stick it in the incubator, and I've got good humidity the entire incubation cycle.
That's wild to me, yeah.
There's no water. There's nothing to, there's no element of human error there.
Yeah, you can't actually accidentally add too much water to something you don't have water to.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got 2 boxes of vermiculite because when I had problems last year, of course, my wife calls me the king of excess. But when I decided, well, okay, something changed, something from last year's not working this year. Maybe I don't have enough humidity in the box. So, I did buy some vermiculite to try, and I had still had similar results on that. I don't think it matters where your humidity comes from. I mean, these things will hatch, and ball python eggs are incredibly hardy. And more than likely, my issues that I had last year were just natural variants, weaker clutches that weren't intended to hatch. And, I can tend to overthink things, and I probably have overthought things here, But.
Generally, too, if you have the entire clutch go, like you're saying you do, that's usually a genetic thing. If you have, say, like a spike in your incubator, I usually find that, an egg or 2 still makes it. Unless your spike was insane, obviously. Like if your incubator hits 130, nothing, you just cooked them. Like nothing's making it out of that.
Well, when I say 100%, I mean I only had 2 clutches that were 100% losses.
Okay.
One of them was 8 out of 12 perished, and then the other one was 6 out of 9. But they all had a very common thing. I mean, they had like this gelatinous looking substance in there that was separating them from the yolk. They were very small babies, didn't take up a very large portion of the egg. It was just, I'm pretty sure one of them was a Partho clutch. I mean, every one of them had this really weird, crazy, super inchy look to them. And even though super inchy was in the pairing, it's hard to believe 10 out of 10 I hit super inchy. And they were all females as well. So they check off all the boxes for Partho. Yeah. So if I take those 10 out, really maybe I didn't have as bad a luck as I thought, but it sure felt like it at the time.
Yeah, like once you figure it out, it doesn't make it any easier that it happened, right? It still sucks.
Oh yeah,
it's just there's just nice to have an idea of what happened.
but it's also just like losing a snake. It's just part of it. Every single one of us that works with a large number of animals is going to come in to check tubs one day and open a tub and eventually find a dead snake laying there. Then you jump into, okay, let's get a necropsy done. Let's get a full pathology done. Let's make sure it's not anything. And, fatty liver disease is very common. I talk with Tom Harbin a lot. He helps me work through any issues. I call him he's my long distance vet, so to speak. He's several hours away from me, but he tells me what to do, and then I call my vet and say, "Hey, this is what we need to do. I'll pick up the medicine tomorrow." And then I kind of do it that way. But so I think we've got a question there.
Yeah, we have a couple here. Pete Snakes wants to know if there's any other species you'd like to breed.
Who like to breed? There's probably a lot I'd like to breed. Realistically, I live in Tennessee, and Tennessee has some really strange laws. Number one, I don't have any interest in getting back into the big snakes. So boas, berms, retecs, that's not of interest to me anymore. I was almost killed by a retec back in the day. And I mean, I literally, probably if my partner in the shop would have walked in 5 minutes later, I'd be dead right now. I mean, I was passed out on the floor. He got her off me, and and she had broken out of her cage overnight, and she was sitting up on top of the racks in the back of the room. And I thought somebody had broken in. We were kind of in a rough neighborhood to get the cheap rent. We had locks and all that stuff, security, but we'd had people try to break in before. But so I came in the front door to open the shop, and the back door I couldn't see. So when I walked in, there was just shit everywhere, and I'm picking up king snakes and geckos, and there's geckos on the wall, and there's just shit everywhere. And I had turned around to pick up a milk snake that was getting ready to run under a rack and be hard to catch. And when I stood back up, I felt a pressure on this shoulder. And, I didn't really feel the bite at first. And then I looked and I saw the snake's head. And this was about a 17-foot snake that was a really heavy-bodied snake. And she had literally bit here, and then she wrapped me all the way down to my knees. And I had this arm out, but I couldn't get her tail to hook her tail back to try and get her to uncoil. And I just held my chest out the best I could and took shallow breaths, in the hopes that Kenny wasn't so stoned he was going to be more late than usual. And
oh my God.
So, I remember kind of seeing red, like everything turned red. And then the next thing I remember after that was looking up from laying on the floor and seeing Kenny putting the snake back in the enclosure.
Oh my God.
We had actually driven to Oklahoma and rescued that snake. Oklahoma, that snake had almost killed its previous owner, who thought it would be a good idea to spray ammonia in its face every time it struck to try and teach it a lesson. And so, she obviously had a dislike of humans. But I mean, I would have to say I'm not allowed to really do colubrids here either, because Tennessee classifies indigenous by genus. So everything Lampropeltis is considered indigenous. I mean, a albino tangerine Honduran milk snake that would not live in the wild here through even a spring cool snap, much less a winter. I can't have without extensive permitting and everything. But the one thing I do like, I like hoggies a lot. Josh and Alicia Harbin were over last night, and we hung out for a couple hours, and they breed hogs, and she's wanting to get into some lavender. So I could see myself. There you go.
They're great, man. I love them.
I could see myself getting maybe a trio of some high-end hognose with maybe some hets, something that I could really play with. But the reality is then that means I've got to breed mice again too. So I don't know.
I've switched over to feeding these guys rat pups, and it's really going great for me this year. I was always told to avoid rats, and then one person told me like, "Hey, that's bullshit."
Yeah, but starting hatchlings, what about that?
Absolutely, yeah. You're gonna need pinky mice, but honestly, at that size, like, I just throw in frozen. Like, they're hatchling hog noses are something else, though. Like, they're a bit of a pain.
Well, yeah, and they're so derpy and crazy, and that's the. It's like I've got a king snake in the other room right now that's just a pet that doesn't realize that snakes are food. So I mean, a couple of the ones we lost, we were like going to feed him to. Somehow in the back of your mind feel like at least it's going to some kind of use or something like that. And he looked at it like, what the hell is that? Where's my ASF? And he eats rats, ASFs, just about anything else, but he will not eat a snake. I was like, well, you don't even have a job anymore. You're not even earning your keep.
Yeah, we bought a couple cat snakes for that reason, but unfortunately they had some bugs, even though they were supposed to be captive bred.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think they were, and both didn't make it. But
Probably captive, maybe captive born. You know what I mean? There's
oh
that's
yeah,
one
no,
thing
there
over
was
the
definitely
years.
something going on, but they were definitely advertised as captive hatched, so
Yeah.
that's why we went for them. And yeah, that kind of sucked. But that's the whole reason we had them. I actually fed them a couple of stillborn hognose babies because they were pretty small on their own, and that was pretty cool. Like they took them right away, but shit happens, man. I want to get a couple more sometime soon.
I hear
But
you.
so, you're landing on hog noses.
Yeah, I'd say if I had to pick one, that would be it.
Well, if you decide to, let me know. There's some really cool shit out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Kim has another question. Out of your collection, what is the least favorite morph to work with?
Oh wow. Okay. I don't know. I'm getting kind of bored making bells, even though they sell. Obviously, that's maybe a cliche answer, and maybe a not popular thing. I swore I would never have a pinstripe in my room of any sort. I don't like jeans that overpower almost everything else you put with it and take over. I mean, I have one bamboo in the room. It's a bamboo black pastel. Bought it because it looked cool. I figured, it'd be a good one to put in the clown project eventually. And even if not, it's a cool looking snake. I wanted to have it.
Mm-hmm.
And but probably pinstripe. I mean, I've only got a couple that are in the Desert Ghost project, and it was just because, to be quite honest, that was what was available from someone I trusted at the time. To get some visual Desert Ghost stuff. Corey Martin's just about got me sold though on pinstripe pods. They are pretty cool.
Oh man, the pinstripe pies are amazing. It's funny. Corey and I talk all the time. I think I probably talk to Corey more than I talk to anybody else in this hobby. But I like shared my love for pinstripe pies with her months ago, and she started looking them up.
Yeah, now
and then she just
she's got 7.
yeah, and she just went crazy for him. And I was like, dude, I showed you the one. I don't even own one yet. And fucking like she's just making me so jealous. But
Yeah.
honestly, I think pinstripe and pied and pinstripe and clown. I love those two. DG obviously DG makes anything better. But the gold that comes into the
Oh man, especially with
pinstripe
pastel. I
pot.
mean, I've got an Inchy Lemon Blast Desert Ghost that's
Oh
probably
damn.
about 1,200 grams, and then I've got a Leopard Spot Nose Pinstripe Desert Ghost 66% het pod, male and female. I kind of, I don't know. I jumped the gun on the male because now I've got better stuff than that. So I'm actually probably going to sell that snake, but I've already promised it to a local guy. I told him I wasn't in a rush. He spent a lot of money with me, and then kind of hit a rough patch. And now he's back on his feet, got a great job. So I'm giving him a few weeks to do something about that one. But those are the only 2 pins in the room. I love Spider, but I've had such a hard time selling the spiders that I've produced.
Really?
Yeah, and I didn't think
my spider
would.
stuff is always the first to sell, man. Like I don't have I just post a clutch picture and like I have like 10 people asking me for them. I find the spider stuff just flies.
I had an Orange Dream Inchy Bumblebee Het Hypo spider that I had listed on Morph Market, and I felt like that was a $700 or $800 snake based on market research. It was listed for 6 months, and it took dropping to 500 before I got the first inquiry on it.
Wow.
Now one of my favorite snake in the room, which if anybody has asked that question, is still my Leopard Fire Spider Clown. I mean, I'm absolutely
Leopard Fire. Oh, the one. Yeah, you've posted that a couple times.
Yeah,
that thing's amazing.
It's just solid. It's tan with a really bright fire, almost yellow head. I mean, it looks unlike any other ball python I've ever. And I'll tell you a little story about that. Bob Vu produced that snake, and I was scrolling through Facebook, and he posted a picture of that snake and said, she's going to be available, Leopard Fire Spider Clown. And I had bought some stuff from Bob before, so he was already in my PayPal. And so I sent him a sum of money, we'll say, and in the notes it said, female Leopard Fire Spider Clown, don't sell that, that kind of thing. And then I sent him a message, and he said, buddy, it's a good thing you did that. I mean, it was like, because I mean, that's not that's not a common combo, and that's what I like to make. I mean, I've made a few what I believe to be world's first, but I've never once posted or called them world's first because number one, I don't care about that.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I mean, I don't think anybody really knows if any combo is a world's first because not everyone posts on Facebook and Instagram or Discord or whatever your method of communication is with your subset of people that you talk to.
Yeah.
Something I found interesting is last year I paired a GHI Black Pastel Yellow Belly to a Mojave, and I hit 3 female quads, GHI Black Pastel Mojave Yellow Belly.
Jesus.
I started trying to do some market research on them to see what they were worth because I didn't want to keep all of them. And I ended up, I couldn't find them. So I went to Underground and, Let's See Your Balls and the bigger groups and stuff like that. And just asked, has anybody ever hatched a GHI Black Pastel Mojave Yellow Belly? I mean, it's 4 common genes. You would think they would have. And I talked to everybody I know, so that's potentially could be a world's first. I mean, and then I'm pretty sure my male pastel banana spot nose GHI clown female maker is a first. But I mean, again, I haven't done enough research to really care. It's just a cool ass snake.
Well, there's just so many people out there that just don't care about the social media part. Like, the amount back when I worked for Billy, the amount of times we'd be talking about something, I'd be like, "Oh man, I can't wait to see this combo!" Like whenever it's made, and Billy'd be like, "Oh, you haven't seen that?" I was like, "No, it's not posted anywhere." And we'd go looking for it, and then he'd realize that somebody he was chatting to on Facebook just happened to send him a picture, and never posted it, never told anyone about it. Like,
oh yeah, just out of the blue. Here's. Oh, by the way, I have one too, and you're like, "Well, shit, I thought I had the only one."
Yeah, but I mean, you know what? That last clutch I just hatched, I think I have a couple world's first in there too, but it's not even worth my time to go and check. Like I'm only basing that off of the fact that I haven't seen anything like it, and I searched Morph Market for the combo, as nothing comes close, right? So I don't know. My ODHRA banana pied. I can't find another one of those anywhere. Like,
well, and that's one of the hardest things for me has been, the market research and the pricing aspect of stuff because, I mean, I feel like. This is hilarious. I had a 2-hour conversation yesterday with Patrick McKnight because we've been kind of talking about an issue that we both had in, commonly with some equipment. And, we were
Wait, was that about a post that you had made earlier?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
It was. And I don't mind saying it. I mean, first off, let me say, Chris at Sea Serpents is awesome. He's an awesome guy. He's always taking care of me. And just like I told the guy that's buying this 60-inch hot box incubator I've got, picking it up tomorrow, actually, I told him, I said, I have no evidence whatsoever. I have mapped, if you knew who Ainlaw was, I mapped 63 different data points of temperatures for 72 hours inside this incubator with boxes, without boxes, with boxes of water, without. I mean, I couldn't find a single spot that's off. So it's hard for me to believe it's the incubator, but I jokingly compared it to, a cheating spouse. You know what I mean? Once you think it's contributed to something, I mean, I just can't go on with it. And I wanted 436s stacked anyway because, like my big racks I've got on Herpstat 4 split into 4 zones, so I only have 12 snakes controlled by each probe. Well, in the hatchling rack it's a few more, but in the adult racks it's either 9 or 12 snakes on the same probe to limit my exposure to risk. Because that's, everything that we're doing is a risk. I mean, we're using a product that was meant to keep pipes from bursting in the winter to heat live animals. We're using heaters, we're using incubation, all sorts of things. So I like the thought of having 436s stacked too high, too wide. I can actually keep 40 clutches in that. And as opposed to around 26, Chris would bust my balls for saying that. But I mean, the 50 clutches, I'm not sure that's with the all shelves out, boxes stacked 2 deep, 4 per level, all the way to the top. And, I mean, who's going to incubate like that? If you need to get in the bottom clutch, you got to unload your incubator like a truck, or something. I want to have, no more than three. I want to have no more than three high stacked. I'd rather have two or less. I'd rather have one per shelf. So I saw
that's why I like the Cornell's World one, the one that Billy uses and that we use, because it's only the depth of your bin, so it's just one all across the board.
Yeah, see, I actually looked that up. I saw that in the Discord chat, and I actually Googled that and looked it up and looked at some pictures of those and everything because I wasn't sure how I was going to move forward. I've had such good luck out of my 36-inch hot box. I mean, literally every egg I've put in there's hatched. I mean, I haven't had any issues on all my sensors. It's just as flat as it can be. And, and I really deep down inside don't think the 60-inch probably was the problem with why I lost those clutches last year, because why would 17 clutches hatch perfectly and 4 have major issues if temperatures were an issue, because I rotated clutches up as they hatch, so they would start here and they would work their way left and then up to the next level and then sometimes up to the next level before they hatch, and there's new clutches going in underneath them. So they went through all the minor temperature fluctuation zones. But Limey sent me a message. It's funny when I made that post too, because I probably had a dozen people message me that didn't post. I mean, in the thread, because people are just really wary of giving advice on Facebook anymore, just because. I mean, you want to. It's just a basic marketing 101. You know what I mean? You always want to ride the middle. You don't ever want to have a strong opinion about anything, because you never know who you're going to offend that might be spending money with you tomorrow. And so a lot of people will reach out and say things privately that they won't say publicly.
Oh yeah. I mean, I see a lot of that too. So, Kim asked, I know you started with colubrids, but who influenced you to start breeding balls?
Ooh, who influenced? I don't know that there was any particular person that influenced me. When I wanted to make the move from it being a hobby to a business, it's the species that made the most sense for me. I've always liked ball pythons. I still remember when Bob Clark imported the first albino. My partner in the shop and Bob were really good friends, and we went out there and saw it and sent me pictures of it and brought back Polaroids. If anybody on the chat even knows what that is now, but brought back Polaroids of the snake and that kind of stuff. But I didn't really realize how many genetic mutations had been isolated because I hadn't been following it. I only found out what a Facebook group was about 3.5, maybe 4 years ago. So I wasn't on Facebook, and I wasn't friends with many snake people. So I mean, you don't just go to the store and see the ball python I saw that got me interested in ball pythons was a killer clown, and it was at a guy named Eddie Humphrey's house. He's a local breeder. I took my son there to kind of look at his snakes, and we ended up buying a couple that I never even bred because they didn't fit what I wanted to do, but they were cool at the time. And then after that, that's what led me to find Morph Market, and then I was like straight addicted for probably a year before I even started buying. I started studying what works with what honestly what the ROI is on this versus that. I learned early on that recessives were where I wanted to be. I still have some bell pairings because I have room. But and when I say bell, I'm not just shooting for bells. It's a GHI Mojave vanilla that sees a group of like a lesser Mojave, a lesser yellow belly, and inchy lesser. So there's lots of good marketable, beginning breeder pet quality type stuff in there.
And you also have a lot of variation still, right? So you still could hit something real cool.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, that kind of stuff. But I don't think any one person necessarily influenced me. But I will say that when I saw that killer clown, I was like, we're going to breed ball pythons. And it was probably 2 years later when I started to envision it as a true business model, not just making a little bit of extra money, like something that could possibly become a full-time thing once I get some things paid off and spend a few more years at work. I mean, like I said, I'm 51. I don't want to be, I don't want to be doing what I'm doing when I'm 65, 66. I'd like to be able to retire from my primary profession with at least a 5 still in my age. And we're on track, well on track to do it. So,
that's good.
It's not like doing this instead of that. It's like, doing this and nothing else. I mean, I absolutely love every minute of it.
And it's actually really funny because you touched on something that a lot of people don't talk about. You said you did a lot of research before you started into this. And I feel like most people start into it and then go, oh shit, what do we do now? And they kind of have to backtrack to make sense of it and try to hopefully make $1. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of extra work because people jump into this because they love it so much. They're like, oh, I need all of it now.
Well, that was where I was lucky. I mean, to have a 15-year background in digital marketing, reputation management, stuff like that. So that part of it was the easy part for me. And to be honest, hobby wide, that's the hardest part for most people, because anybody can. I mean, ball pythons are tremendously easy to breed. I mean, they'll breed in a varying amount of conditions. You know what I mean? You can have 5 40-gallon aquariums and breed ball python. It's not hard to do. What is hard to do is to get yourself out there as someone who people trust. And, the way I did that in the early days was by, being super active in Facebook groups. There was one that you were a moderator of. I think Kim was too.
I think Kim still might be.
Yeah. And, and it was kind of a beginner group, but I got in there and, and to be honest, it was probably a little harsh for my taste. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it was, I felt like, but also a group of 20,000 people, you don't have time to beat around the bush. And that's just, part of it. I
just like being mean. That's why I went for it.
That's awesome. I still refer my customers to that group.
So do I. I will never stop.
Let them know that if you're setting up your ball python in a tank, I have next to no experience with that. I can sort of tell you how to do it, but there's no better care guide than the one that I believe Craig LaBounty wrote. But it may have been a collaborative effort, but for something tells me Craig wrote that.
I wouldn't be surprised if Craig wrote it.
And and I send them there. I'm like, even if you don't post a thing, download and print a copy of that, because if you follow that, I will not get a call 3 months from now asking me why did my snake die or why will my snake not eat.
Yeah, and you know what? I also Caleb's tank setup videos. I find those things are super helpful for people because you can say words like ceramic heat emitter to a new person, but that doesn't mean they know what you're talking about, right? So
exactly.
They see it in the video, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, I've seen that at the store." Like, okay.
Well, yeah, and some of the things that you do goes against conventional wisdom. You know what I mean? It's like, imagine trying to climate control your house with a screen roof. I mean, that's kind of the equation. I mean, that's what I equate it to a lot of times when I'm telling people you have to seal it up pretty good. But I mean, I could go one room over. My son's got a 14-year-old normal that, grew up in a tank setting. But, and, now I put him in a tub and he did not thrive well in a tub. I mean, I put him back in there with 12 hours of light, 12 hours of dark. He's got the right temperature. He's got a hide. It's kind of sandwiched in. It's not he's a big snake in a smaller enclosure. But I mean, like he is absolutely thriving in that, where in the tank, in the tub, he was just surviving. So I do think they adapt to what their environment is and what the reality is, and major changes to that can throw them off no matter, what.
Oh yeah, for sure. We had another question from KMB. If you didn't do snakes, and this is a funny question to ask right after you talked about how you wanted to start doing this full time instead of your other job, but what other hobby would you be into with your free time?
Probably fishing. I mean, I love fishing. I still fish a lot. Like we we just went herping down in Ocala, Florida. Took a little trip down there, rented a lake house, and my wife calls it hiking. I call it herping. She's more like, where are you? I'm like, I'm turning over a log. You're running off and leaving me. But we went down there, but it was mainly also a fishing trip. I mean, so if I wasn't doing snakes, I would definitely fish more. You couldn't pay me to play golf. I hate golf. So I'm not a golfer. But I do love to fish. I love to be in the outdoors. I was a scoutmaster with the Boy Scouts for many years. I love to camp. We're big boaters. My son's a big wake surfer, so we do a lot of boating too. That's why I bust my ass to get everything done during the week, because Sunday's that one day that we spend on the lake.
Right. I mean, that's a pretty good answer. I don't even know what I would do.
I'd probably do what I did when I had 5 snakes. I didn't have to worry about it. I wouldn't spend every day at the beach. I mean, we're going to the beach in a few weeks for a week, and when you've got this many clutches coming, this many cooking, I mean, dude, that's just anxiety 101 from the time you leave the house till the time you get back. Even though I've got a guy I trust implicitly that checks on stuff, a couple of times a day, I leave like taped notes on everything. This clutch is due then. Watch for ovulation here. This girl just laid. Drop an ASF in there on Wednesday. If she doesn't take it, just let me take care of it. But yeah, I mean, right now all the other hobbies are kind of put on hold because I mean, with this many animals, it's really hard to get away for a very long time at all without it's just not relaxing.
Yeah. You just stress constantly. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you miss out on a lot. Like a lot of times my son and wife go camping with some of my in-laws that I actually do enjoy their company, and I just can't bring myself to try to jam 3 days worth of work into one day so I can go sleep on the ground for 3 days. That's lost its that's lost its luster with me big time.
That's pretty funny. Makes sense though. I mean, I've never been a big fan of camping anyway, so
I used to like it, not so much anymore. I prefer my luxuries now.
So we kind of briefly touched on it when talking about a couple other things, but do you have any like big goals for the next 3 to 5 years? Is there anything you're trying really hard to be able to achieve in that time frame?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think overall that this is year 3, so I think overall by the end of this year we'll be in the black. I think we'll not just from snakes, but we'll have everything but the house and the expensive ass boat paid for. So we'll be in a good debt position with my son starting school a year later. So I mean, 3 to 5 year goals is pretty much to slowly transition, hopefully in 3, 4 to 5 years, to doing this full time. And and for me, doing it full time may mean something different than what it means for someone else, because I'm not 25 starting a family. I mean, I didn't just buy my house. You know what I mean? It's like that's for me, full time means supplemental income, not necessarily what I need to make to live right now, or what I needed to make to live 10 years ago. Genetics wise, 5 years from now, I would like every tub to be housing a visual recessive animal. At least as far as females go. A lot of people think about this backwards, and I did forever. By the hets and the females, and by the males and the powerful visuals, and that was like pounded into my head by so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I realize it, I'm like, I did this with Pied, and I have no idea why I didn't do this with Clown. Because I've got, I think, 9 single gene breeding Pieds this year. If I should have 10 to 12 single gene breeding Clowns this year if I would have used the same, and then I take a male Clown and put it to something completely cool and new, and then I'm breeding that male het to a visual the very next year instead of waiting 2.5 to 3 years before. So I mean that's something else too. I'd like to have all my females being visual recessive, and a handful of male hets coming up with some new stuff, and then I'd like to have several double visual Desert Ghost Pied, Desert Ghost Clowns, Desert Ghost Genetic Stripes by then, and then I can start deciding if I want to mix those into the trio or not. Because I don't know, I'm not married to triple recessives, quad recessives, but I do believe when we look at this market 5, 6 years from now, the stuff that's being made today is just not going to be up to par.
Oh yeah.
You've got to constantly upgrade, and I think Desert Ghost is eventually going to be a base morph that's in almost everything. Because it's. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite as popular as Desert Ghost.
And it's crazy how quickly it's sort of come back too. Like we hit a bunch of visuals this year in one clutch, and we sold them all to Royal Canadian Reptiles, the females anyway. And we got what I thought was we came to a really, really good deal on them. So we were thrilled. Like we got a bunch of money, and he traded us an animal. Like it was amazing. And then about 2 months later, we're going through Morph Market and just going, what the fuck? Like,
oh yeah, dude. I mean, well, and that's what was crazy. And I think I bought mine right before like that price jump happened, especially on female. I mean, because it was, and again, Bob has always taken care of me. I've spent quite a bit of money with him, so and generally when I'm buying, I'm not buying one snake. You know what I mean? I'm generally buying 5 or 6 in a package, and that's the way I try to get good value for my money. But the bottom line is, if it's something I want and it's something I need, I'm going to find a way to get it. And that's probably the biggest acquisition this year. I mean, I'd like to find a visual Desert Ghost Pod and add that to the collection, because I've got all the things in place for Desert Ghost Clown. I've got all the things in place for Desert Ghost Genetic Stripe, to where I can be one whole back cycle away from, really good shots at the doubles. With Desert Ghost Pod, I've got a bunch of double heads, so I think I want to go ahead and make the jump, because I think too many people wait too long and then they miss that window where the market, you got to strike where the market's hot when you are looking at it as a business.
Well, no, that's the thing too. It sucks because we got our Leopard DG Hep Hide like middle of last year, and I think it was the Chase auction? No, I think it was the other one.
JT?
Yes, it was in the JT auction.
That's where the nanny special came from that just ovulated.
That's awesome.
Made that.
But anyway, we got him, and I was like, okay, I'm going to pick up a couple like cool like het females to start growing up for them, and all this and all that. And I waited too long, and then we hit those couple visuals, and then I started looking for them, because we sold. Every time I say we sold those visual DGs, it hurts me a little bit, just so everybody's aware. Man, I started looking, and just there's none. Or the ones that are out there are a fortune. So I had to turn around and use up a couple of my females that I was going to do something else with to that male, just to make some het DGs to start growing up for myself. That I thought I could just buy and grow up, but I apparently can't.
Well,
it sucks.
And like I said, I came in at the right time, because I found 3 females on Morph Market that Bob had, an Inchy Lemon Blast Desert Ghost and a Pastel Chocolate Desert Ghost that 66% had hypo. Again, like I said, I don't care about that, but it just so happened to have it. And sometimes you got to buy a hat to get the animal. And then a Chocolate Butter without the Pastel Desert Ghost. And then, and that one's 100% had hypo. And then I've got the male Pastel Yellow Belly Desert Ghost that's carrying the load this year. And then the Pastel Spot Nose Desert Ghost Het G-Stripe that doesn't realize he's a male and what he's supposed to do quite yet. The females are, they're borderline. I mean, they're 1,800 grams. They're, getting close to 2, but I don't know where like a lot of these strict guidelines and rules came from. I suspect they came from breeders who wanted to put people off an extra year, but I've gotten, I'll probably catch heat from someone somewhere for saying this, but I've gotten 9 egg clutches from girls that weren't quite 2 the day they laid their eggs, that went on the this year, to lay a 10 egg clutch and
Mhm.
are 2,800 gram animals. I don't want to sound cliche, but there are no scales in the wild, so, I know we're not in the wild, we're in a controlled environment, but when I stick that ultrasound to the side of a snake, if that snake has the body composition to carry a clutch, is
Mhm.
on feed really good, and is at least 1,800 grams, the date of birth has no relevance to me whatsoever. I'm
It's
going to
actually
pair.
it's funny that you brought that up. Sorry to cut you off, but like I had a female last year that was on and off food forever, and she was cooling and all this sort of stuff. So I figured, I'll throw a male in there. Maybe that'll trigger her to eat. They ended up locking up immediately, and she went on to lay a clutch for me. She was like 1150 when she first
Yeah.
paired, and she just kept building. So I paired her one more time. Um, she got up to, I think, 1,700 grams, dropped the clutch, and now she's building again. She's at 25 millimeters, and she's probably 2,800 grams this year. Like,
That's what I've seen almost across the board.
yeah.
I've got the ones that made that. I think probably anybody that's on Facebook has seen these pictures by now of the Super Orange Dream Vanilla Pod and Het Pod, but hell, they're just right down here under my feet. I don't know how good the video will show up, but I mean, this girl
Yeah, that's insane.
is just outstanding. I mean, everything. I don't know if you can see the head stamp or not, if she's going to cooperate. She did just eat today, so I probably shouldn't be handling her, but I wanted to show her anyway. But, that's another one of those things that's like not a hard and fast rule. As long as you're gentle and you're not, dropping them in the floor, they're not going to regurge because you picked them up. I don't know where that came from either.
It's actually funny. We actually, if you watch the video with Brian Gundy, he told me he feeds and then takes his animals to shows like same day. He's never had an issue ever.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin feeds his babies before he photographs them for listing photos, so they'll sit still. You know what I mean? and that's her. So I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm not advocating that as something I advise people to do. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to question someone who does as much as he does.
Yep.
But yeah, that's pretty much it on that.
And that's the thing, right? Like everybody's always so scared to breed smaller females. You just have to be confident. Just as long as if you look at a female and go, maybe not, then don't.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you compare an 800 gram female that's a year old. It doesn't mean she's going to lay eggs. And from most of, and I've been fortunate to become really good friends, probably through spending a lot of money with, but that resulted in good friendships with some of the top names out there. And the prevailing attitude is, you don't see those guys posting very much on Facebook about advice and stuff like that, because the reality is, if I pair this girl, one of two things is going to happen. She's either going to go on food, slam food, put weight on, and lay a clutch, or she's going to absorb her follicles. There's not a third thing that's going to happen. She's not going to die. Almost everybody that I know that has had an egg-bound female, it's been a 5 to 8 year old, 3,000 gram plus animal that has become
and usually bred like almost every year too, right?
Yeah, exactly. I thought I had one last year. I mean, my pastel butter yellow belly G-stripe when she laid her clutch. I pulled her off the eggs. I didn't see an egg or anything in her. I put her in the bin, pulled the clutch, got it all set up, got her washed off, which is arguably necessary or not, but it's habit. I do it. I'm going to continue to do it. If it works, why change, Got her in the tub all cleaned up, got her back, started to put her back in the tub, went to palpate her, and I saw a big lump about halfway between her belly and her cloaca. And I'm like, holy cow. But she had been wrapped around those eggs for hours and hours and hours. So I put her back in there, and I called Dr. Hilla, who's my local vet, and I said, look, I got a girl that's got an egg in her that didn't come out with the rest of the clutch. He said, well, let's give her 24 hours to pass it. If she doesn't, we might need to aspirate it and get it out of her. And sure enough, I came in the next morning, and there was the egg, and that's the one that hatched the butter ivory genetic stripe. That's my favorite one from that clutch.
Oh, it actually hatched?
Oh, it was good. Yeah, it was a good egg. It had a really.
Your story is the first time I've ever heard of an egg get laid after the mass majority of a clutch that actually went on to be okay.
No, that
That's really
attachment was
interesting.
fun, and it was paper thin too. Like when you picked it up, it almost felt like you were holding a water balloon. You know, I mean,
Huh.
it was really thin, but I took it out, put it in the box with the rest of the eggs, and it hardened up. And I didn't expect it to hatch, but it candled good veins, so I figured, I'm going to put it in there, and
That's crazy.
it hatched right there with all the rest of them. I think from pip to crawl out on that clutch was 2 or 3 days, and I don't think I cut any in that clutch. I don't cut on a certain day. I'm not anti-cut. What I've done in the past is once I see, multiple pips, I'll go ahead and cut a little, slit in the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of it's to see what's in there. I mean, a lot of people lie about that. They say, "Well, I'm doing it to find out." I mean, honestly, you risk causing a tangled umbilical worse cutting than you do by not cutting, in my opinion. But what I've started doing now is, if any have not pipped by the time the first one crawls out on its own, then I cut about a 1/2 inch slit in them, because
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say the news worn off, but this is a funny story. I was in here feeding last year. I had a clutch that, wasn't a super anticipated clutch. It was a clutch that there was, there was going to be no holdbacks from it, but I ended up holding back 2 from it anyway. But,
Sorry, just to interject really quickly, every one of my clutches that I kind of just did for whatever, like shits and giggles from last year, every one of them ended up with multiple holdbacks.
well, this was one of those things where, it was a super inchy clown to a super pastel het clown. So there was only 2 outcomes, So I hit 5 visuals, 4 female,
Wow.
3 hets, 2 female. And, I sold the hets and I was going to sell all the visuals. And then that was about the time I had the aha moment that, why would I sell a visual female clown when I have a het in the rack? I mean, that to me didn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up holding back 2 pastel inchy clowns from that clutch. But I was in here feeding one day, and everything was arranged differently then. Like, I don't know if you can kind of see the room, but the big incubator's over here now, and I've got the bigger racks, and then if you come around, there's the air conditioner, and then all the 40 series tubs are on this wall.
Mm-hmm.
But I was making my rounds around the room with the feeder cart, just feeding snakes, and I just happened to walk by the incubator and see movement, and I was like, what day is this? I mean, it's with my schedule, dude. If you followed me for a week, you'd understand how I could lose track of time. And I just happened to look in there, still pressing seal and everything on there. And there's 2 out, and the other 6 are halfway out, and they're crawling around and everything. So I'm like, holy shit, that clutch hatched. And then I looked at it, and it was actually due 3 days before I, looked at it.
Oh,
But
wow.
I mean, just the fact that I could get like that, that's a testament that eggs are so much better if you just forget they're there. And leave them alone. Too many people mess with them too much, I think, and that causes a lot of issues too.
I literally had to move my incubator into a closet, and then I keep the door in front because I have it on one side. I keep the door in front of it closed because I don't want to look at them because I'll be one of those people, and I know I will be. So I put it in there, close the door, and I don't see it
Yeah, well,
unless
I'm
I'm
looking
specifically
at mine right
checking
now,
on
'cause-
something. That's it.
Yeah, because I'm going to put the 436 inches on this wall, kind of facing out, and I think that's going to have a cool look to it too. I mean, not that that's what I'm going for, but I can do 10 clutches easily in a 36. It says it holds like 16, but that's if you use a shoehorn to wedge them in there. But I can do 10 in each. So in reality, I felt like I could do 21 comfortably in the 60. With 436s, I can do 40. So I mean, I've just about doubled my clutch capacity too.
That's your buddy Alyssa. We were talking about you a little earlier. She said, "Have toddlers. I have to set reminders on my phone." That's funny.
My wife gets so annoyed at me because I have so many reminders on my phone. I mean, on any given day, there's probably 8 or 10 reminders that come up on my phone. And every time I'm not going to say the words, hey, you know what, because that's what, it's going to bing and start asking me, how can I help you? But, that I set reminders for days clutches are supposed to hatch, for days girls are supposed to lay. To be reminded every day, 3 days before, because like I said, I'm not young. I do forget things. I partied my ass off in college. I killed a lot of brain cells, so it's, one thing I don't have. People always say I'm honest. That's one of the attributes I'm the most proud of, is that I'm an honest person. If someone asks me a question, you're going to hear the truth. It may not be what you want to hear, but I'm going to be honest with you about it, because I don't have the memory to lie. I can't, I can't remember what I told people. So if I always tell people the truth, it'll always be the same.
That's literally the reason that I can't lie to people, because my memory is garbage. Oh man, that's funny. Benevolent Reptiles has had a question on the screen for a little bit, but we kept rolling with what we were talking about. What is the coolest / most memorable moment with reptiles? Shows, something you've done, etc.
I've only done one show, and that was vending with Alyssa, and that was memorable. But at the same time, it was, it was kind of anticlimactic too, because it was the second day of a 2-day show. It was on Sunday, so there wasn't a lot of stuff, going on that day. I sold a lot of ReptiChep, stuff like that, but it was more work than fun. What's the coolest, most memorable thing? Probably. God, that's a hard ass question.
It's a good question, though. I don't think I've ever had anyone ask that.
It's a really good question. Probably the retic that almost killed me is still, as far as I know, in the Memphis Zoo. We donated that snake to the Memphis Zoo, and her name was Tina. And, there was a plaque there that said donated by Mid-South Herp, which was the name of our company. So, I guess if I have to pull one out, going back to the zoo to see that snake after knowing how close I came to losing my life to her, that was pretty cool. I also think honestly, that first clutch of ball python eggs was pretty damn cool. It was like 3 years of work, 2016, 2017, 2018, feeding all these snakes, cleaning all these snakes, not even seeing a lock or anything like that. And the very first clutch was, this is a funny story. Good Lord, I can talk forever, Chris, I'm telling you. But
you're making my job easy, man.
So this was a Firefly Het Clown that I paired to a Super Pastel Vanilla and to a Disco Yellow Belly. Okay, so obviously the goal there was the Allelix, the Vanilla Screams, the Disco Infernos, and that would be 50% Het Clown. That was my first clutch, was the Firefly Het Clown to the Super Pastel Vanilla, and I hit 0 screams. Everything in that clutch was either Pastel Vanilla, Super Pastel Vanilla, or just a pastel. And then in the Disco Inferno clutch, she laid 10 eggs, same sire, all of them good, all of them hatched, 0 Disco Infernos. So I got in my chat groups and started posting pictures of my, Firefly Het Clown. That was probably one of the first 12 snakes I bought, when I started buying snakes. And everybody came to the assessment that it was just a really nice pastel Het Clown with a head influence, because it's going to be really hard to misfire 19 times.
Yeah.
But then again, did I misfire 19 times? Because you can't really tell the difference between fire and vanilla and fire and disco. A lot of people say they can. There are some differences, but it's by no means an exact science at all. And so I ended up selling that male to a friend, Sheena Hopkins and Brian Hopkins over in North Carolina. And she put it, I think it was the only clutch she had. She put that male to a fire female and hit 3 super fires. So now the 2 that I held back, I don't know if they're disco or fire, or if it's a Super Pastel Vanilla or Superfly possible Het Clown. So they're big enough to breed this year, but my fire clown combos aren't. And that's what I want to put to them. So I've tried him. He's 550 grams, about 7 months old. I put him in there. He looks like an 8th grader in an 8th grade dance. He doesn't know what to do.
My favorite's when you open the bin, it's just like curled up in the front corner, like as far away from the female as possible.
You're like, oh, that's him. I read a post somewhere about putting a male in, and the female laid eggs while the male was in there. And like they missed the ovulation, thought the pre-lay shed was the pre-ov shed, didn't have an ultrasound, didn't know how to palpate, that kind
Oh
of, because
man.
it's always a surprise when you're in that situation. And that male was curled in the front, like, because that female was probably like, "Don't come near me,"
Oh
I'm
yeah.
laying eggs.
The poor male. Scariest day of his life.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
That's funny. Oh man. Yeah, I know the question wasn't to me; it was to you. But like, I had to amputate a umbilicus last year.
I've had to do that.
It wasn't just twisted; it had completely knotted. Like the animal had crawled all the way through.
Yep.
And I was 110% sure this animal wasn't making it. Like she was already tiny, then didn't get the any nutrition from the yolk, or oh man. But doing that and going through all that, and then having the animal take its first assist feed with very little fighting, and then assist feeding a few more times, getting it to that first shed was huge. And then once it started taking like live meals on its own, like strike feeding, like holy crap, man, that was the most rewarding thing. It's like 10 months old. It's only 350 grams because it started so small. But just to have that animal still in my rack, still alive, like
I have to circle back to that question, Chris, after you said that, because I can't believe I brain farted and didn't think about this. What's the most coolest, memorable moment? Probably the 12-gram twins.
oh shit.
One of the problem clutches I had last year, one of the eggs had twins in it, and they hatched at 12 grams each. And
oh my God.
I've got pictures I've posted on my page of them next to a quarter. I mean, they were a 2-gram ASF pink left a lump. So, obviously they're that small. They got no yolk. That entire clutch had to be ligated and separated from the yolk, because the yolk had gone necrotic, which was why I was losing the babies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just separated them from the yolk. I knew I was going to have to assist feed these snakes. So, assist feeding a 12-gram, ball python is not an easy thing to do. So I had, 2 tubs with Reptizorb liners in it, and I set one up, and that one died while it was trying to eat. But then the second one ate, and then she got to where as soon as I put it in her mouth, I didn't even have to set her down. Like she would literally sit there in my hand and swallow it and eat it.
Yeah, they start grabbing it almost as soon as it's there.
Then I'd lay her back in her tub. She was born on July the 16th, and check this out.
I'm trying to look around the video. God.
I even have a little bit written on her tub because this was kind of a big social media thing. But that's a little bit now.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's right at 400 grams, and I will be able to honestly answer that question also, that what is my most memorable moment, because my absolute goal is to see this girl on eggs. And if I can raise a snake from 12 grams to laying eggs, I will be thrilled.
You know what, since you're showing yours off, but yeah, no, like I don't think people understand the crazy feeling, like how good it feels to do something like hatching eggs is awesome. It will never get old. Having new baby snakes is always amazing. But to have something that shouldn't have lived because you intervened, like it's pretty cool. But this is my girl. That's the one that I did. She came out at 31 grams, not quite the 12 of yours. But she's only one in the clutch, only female I kept. Motley yellow belly het clown.
I could see the yellow belly even on the tiny screen. I couldn't tell what else was there. Oh yeah, man, Motley yellow belly. That is nice yellow belly too.
Yeah. So she's going in the shed right now. But it was the only thing I hit in the clutch that was for sure Motley. And the only double I hit. I had 5 eggs. Everything else was single gene, either Motley or yellow belly.
Ironically, that clutch I was talking about was clutch 2 of 2019, so it was my second clutch. and it was a super stripe to a lesser yellow belly, and I managed to miss 50% odds 8 times in that clutch too. I hit 0 super stripes, 0 ivories.
Oh my God.
But the lesser yellow belly has since proved yellow belly. So I mean, it was just I just had terrible odds that year, and all of them were males. I had four. Let's see, it was an 8 egg clutch. I had 4 lesser yellow bellies, 3 lesser yellow bellies, 2 lesser specters, all male, a single gene specter female, and a single gene yellow belly female. So not only did the odds gods kick me in the nuts on the genetics, it also kicked me in the nuts on the sexes. But that was clutch too, and one of them was 35 grams. And
Wow.
I noticed it wasn't absorbing, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then it tried to crawl out, still attached to the yolk, and it pulled the yolk out with it. And that's when I could see the yolk was tied in a perfect overhand knot. And I called my buddy Mike Plank at RP Reps in California. We went to UT at the same time. I don't think we actually knew each other. We may have and just don't know it because my memories of college are pretty shady now. But he told me, he kind of showed me how to ligate it with dental floss and remove it, and leave enough there so they can absorb as much as possible and that sort of thing. And the difference with mine is I did not have to assist her. She didn't shed, but she still fed on the first offering. So
Oh wow, that's awesome. I got really unlucky because the knot, when I had mine, the knot was actually right at the belly.
oh wow.
So I had to ligate it, and then I had to fucking hope and pray and just like cross everything possible that when I basically did the cut, I was cutting underneath the dental floss because I basically had to tie the knot above the knot in the umbilicus and just try my best to get it as close to the animal as I could. So I had something to cut underneath it. It was a nightmare.
Oh man. Yeah, that's a scary situation too. And plus, you don't want them to suck that floss up into their belly as they absorb what's left.
And then I had to worry about that because it was, once I did get it off, it was like flush. There was nothing there. So I had to go back and check on her every like 2-3 hours. And as soon as it kind of looked like it was drying up, I had to, take it off, and she bled a little tiny bit, like a couple little tiny spots, but she was fine. So I'll take that over her accidentally absorbing dental floss.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, that would, scar tissue would surround it. It probably wouldn't threaten her life, but it would be a deformity. There'd be a knot there.
Well, I did my best and think, fuck, it turned out.
Yeah, well, that's all we can do, man.
Just happy I didn't just fucking snip the cord and let the animal bleed out.
Yeah, and maybe video it and put it on YouTube, but I'll keep my mouth shut about that.
laugh about it, say it's like being a vet. Yeah, like that. Oh man, well, we're closing in on friggin' 2 hours, dude. So we're probably gonna wrap this up only because I need to eat.
No, I hear you. Yeah, no, my wife made some kind of amazing. I can't believe I can smell it from the snake room. Some kind of amazing like Dorito chicken cooked in the crock pot all day, casserole with cream cheese. I don't know. It's
man,
I'm sure it's unhealthy as hell, but but man, I really appreciate you having me on. I mean,
no, this was awesome, man.
I love talking. I'm obviously a talker. I do so much chatting. It's like today when I called you, I was like, I literally can't type one more. I mean, I've sent so many emails today and everything. I just can't do it. I mean, and when I get on the phone with, I talk to, Jake Milbrandt sometimes and, Patrick McKnight sometimes, and Chris McDougall is probably one of my best friends. And, that somebody I probably talk to weekly at least, if not multiple times a week. And when we get on the phone, I know it's going to be 2 hours. I mean, even if I say, hey, you got time for a quick call, or he says the same thing, it's going to be 2 hours because we spend so much time looking at written words that when you can hear the voice, it's just so much nicer. But, I'll leave it with this, not a plug for myself, but once again, guys, check out the Till Valhalla Project. They have some really cool shirts. They're not that expensive, and it can go a long way to helping some of the people who've served, because that's, again, I make the, I'm not a veteran. I never served in the military. I've got a few family members that did, but I just can't believe that because of a lack of programs and a lack of ways to help these people that 22 people take their life a day that have served this country, and that's the
Mhm.
largest of almost any subset out there. And it's just horrible. So, but I like this shirt for more than just that. KFG, keep fucking going. It doesn't matter, guys. You're going to face adversity when you do this. You're going to lose animals. You're going to lose eggs. You're going to have clutches that hatch that don't hatch that are supposed to. You're going to have all that kind of stuff. But if you don't remember anything else, be nice to each other. When you give advice, give it in a way that is received well. Don't give it in such a judgmental tone, and understand that nobody knows everything. And when the going gets tough, I mean, definitely keep fucking going.
That's a great way to end.
I hear you, man.
Thanks a lot, man. No, this was super, super fun. As we were actually talking about the other night, I do want to have you back for another show I'm planning. I don't want to announce what that is yet, just because I want to make sure
we talked about it, and I'd love to be a part of that. So
cool. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make that a Friday Night Live or let that be its own thing. Just because I don't know really what I want to do with the format yet, but we'll talk about that, and when the time comes, we'll announce it for everybody.
We'll talk, and I can help you plan that a little bit if you want to, because I think that needs to be done in segments as opposed to just one big free for all, because there's so much involved in what you're wanting to talk about that I think it needs to be, segment 1, segment 2, segment 3, and maybe have someone different that's excelled in other areas, on for each segment. I think it's a great damn idea, though. I mean,
you know what, man? I'm hoping to get it going soon too. It's not like something I want to sit on for half a year. There's so many different aspects of this hobby that are kind of very lightly touched. Like the whole reason we're doing the psych ward show, the whole mental health side of this, like the amount of people that are in this hobby that also suffer from mental health issues that nobody ever it's just not brought up. So.
Well, I didn't talk about it, but I mean, I have a panic disorder, and breeding ball pythons and rodents is not conducive to that. I've been, I take medication, 4 times a day, and I have for 9 years to try and keep that under control. But, this is also therapy for that. That helps a lot, to be around the animals. This is a very soothing place for me to be. And
I think that's probably the reason why we see a lot of keepers that may have mental health issues, because it is it's like a retreat. It's like your safe space, right? It really helps when other things seem overwhelming. Even when the hobby, like when this part is overwhelming, it just feels like it's where you want to be, and it helps.
And it's the only place where you can look at what's directly in front of you and not be looking off to the side at everything else. I mean, you can kind of leave everything at the door, and when you come in here, I mean, I joke about it, but I'm like, I need to go relax and clean some shit. So I mean, I got going through doing the spot cleans, you know what I mean, dumping tubs. I'd rather be doing that than almost anything else, because that's one time when I'm not thinking about anything except for what's directly in front of me, and that's the only time an anxious mind can relax. And
there's nothing to stress about when you're just accomplishing what you're doing.
No, absolutely. It's just checking off boxes, man. I live by checklists.
All right, man. Well, this has been amazing. Like I said, we'll announce that other one when we get some of the details down. But I'm going to drop you off, say my goodbyes, and then me and you can chat for a sec. Absolutely. Thanks so much again, Brian. This was fun as hell. Awesome, I think everybody liked it too.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Chris.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you in a second.
All right, awesome.
All right, guys. That was super cool. Ton of info in that live there. Definitely gonna have Brian back on, not only for that other show we were talking about, but probably for another Friday Night Live in the future. Maybe after both of our seasons have gone a little bit further, just to talk about the same shit, but about the 2021 season instead. I do want to plug one thing. We have a whole bunch of fucking stickers sitting here because I'm terrible at sending out stickers. So hit me up. We got a whole bunch of shit coming, but I actually just got these made for you fine folks that watch our lives. I think they're pretty darn cool. Holographic stickers of the countdown. I also got coasters made too, and then I got labels made for shipping boxes. I went crazy. But yeah, hit us up for some stickers. And actually, what I want to start doing is if any of you guys have any suggestions for people that I could bring on that maybe I haven't thought of or I don't know, if you could drop those in the comments of the video, not the live chat, but the actual comments. I want to start going back through seeing what people think. I want to get some people on that are maybe not as exposed on YouTube as much. I know there's the usual guys, and I'm hoping to have those guys all on one day also. But I would really like to start going through some of these guys that have lots of knowledge that maybe don't get the platform or just genuinely don't really want to do it a lot of the time. And hopefully I can convince them to. But yeah, guys, this has been super fun. That's all I got to say. I hope everybody has a good night. If you could hit the like button before you hit that X, that'd be fantastic. Peace out, guys. Bye.